Hey, what's going on YouTube? Son of Sanguinius here, and today we are going to be officially starting our coverage on the Angel's Blade supplement for Blood Angels. It's been a long time coming. I know a lot of you guys out there really wanted me to cover it. I was gonna do Shield of Baal first, just to keep things in chronological order, but frankly, I think the demand is good enough that Angel's Blade will come first, and maybe later on I'll cover Shield of Baal in another video series. So, Angel's Blade. Now, I should start off that this first video is just going to be an overview. It's not going to be a complete, in-depth analysis of every little thing. I'm just going to, briefly touch on some things. Mainly, like, the Warlord traits, relics, some of the rules for the vehicles that I know you guys have mentioned before. So, we will get into that. So, firstly, as far as the lore front is concerned, because 2/3 of this book is basically lore, and it's awesome. Basically, you got Blood Angels in the Dianor system, taking on Crimson Slaughter and Black Legion. Some interesting things, going on there. They mention, how they were basically had to be diverted from Baal. The Cryptis system, stuff or whatever in Shield of Baal happened before this, and it was, more or less successful in some ways, maybe not so much in others, but regardless, the lore is pretty cool. There's some interesting things, that happen. Kranin the Relentless, the warlord of the Crimson Slaughter, gets knocked on his ass by like 2 Death Company guys. It's great. The whole thing is really interesting. I was couldn't help but just read through the next page, and I'm just one more page. I'm only going to read one more page, and before I knew it, I wound up flipping through 15 pages before I had the strength to stop myself. But anyway, lore aside, how is the rest of Angel's Blade? Honestly, not so good. And it isn't so much that this book doesn't help Blood Angels. It certainly helps us more than it hurts us, I think. But this sure as hell was not all that it was meant to be. It was not all that it should have been. And there are just some decisions in here that will probably wind up in my rant section of my of my channel. So we'll, especially with one particular formation in this book, we'll touch on that a little bit later. So the first thing that you see when you turn to the Forces of the Blood Angels, it talks about the different data sheets and all that. Some of them, there's 4 new ones in here. 2 of them we already covered in my Codex review. That would be the Assault Squad and the Devastator Squad. I'm not going to go over those again, but the Terminator Captain and the Death Company Chaplain we will go over. But first, we can touch on the vehicle, the new vehicle entries, because they can be taken in squadrons now. And frankly, before this book came out, Vindicators, Whirlwinds, Landspeeders, Predators, and Baal Predators, they didn't have like the squadron special rules. And I think a lot of these, I don't know which ones exactly, but I think a lot of these we couldn't even take in squadrons at all. So let's just go over those briefly right now. So the Vindicators, you got the Linebreaker Bombardment. If this unit contains 3 Vindicators that can all fire their Demolisher cannons, the squadron can fire a single Linebreaker Bombardment instead of firing normally. To do so, nominate 1 model in the squadron as the firer. The firer's Demolisher cannon changes its type from Large Blast to Apocalyptic Blast and gains the Ignore Cover special rule. So that's basically, Apocalyptic Blast, Strength 10, AP 2, ignores cover. It's awesome. When you really, really want something to die, the Linebreaker Bombardment with those 3 Vindicators is certainly something to keep an eye out for. Excuse me. So, next we're going to move on to the Whirlwind. It has suppressive bombardment. While this unit contains 3 Whirlwinds, each model's Whirlwind multiple missile launcher has the pinning and shred special rules regardless of which missile it fires. So that's awesome. A nice little bonus there if you plan on having a lot of artillery support. Take them in a squadron. Probably for larger games, not so much for smaller games. But hey, at least Whirlwinds are fairly low cost as far as a heavy support choice goes. So now we're going to move on to the land speeders. If you take them in a squadron, they have anti-grav upwash. While this unit includes 3 land speeders, it can move an additional 6 inches when it moves flat out. So that's nice. You get a little extra movement or whatever when you have them in a squadron. It's always nice, being able to get your things from point A to point B as fast as possible. Alright, moving on, we have the Predator with the kill shot. While this unit contains 3 Predators, all Predators in the unit have the Monster Hunter and Tank Hunter special rules. So I mentioned before that, comparing the Predator and the Ball Predator, I would opt to use the Predator as kind of like an anti-monstrous creature, anti-armor kind of tank, and that special rule right there definitely helps with that, with those last cannons. And you could go with the autocannon as well, too. But for me personally, I would opt to give it those last cannons. And lastly, we have the Ball Predator with the Wall of Firepower. Whilst this unit includes 3 Ball Predators, you can re-roll to wound. You can re-roll all failed to wound rolls of 1 when shooting their weapons. So that's nice, regardless of whether you're going with the Daka Pred or the Flame Pred build. You can definitely benefit from that. You just have to take 3 of them in a squadron, and hey, who doesn't like Ball Predators? Alright, so as I mentioned before, there are 2 new detachments. There is the Angel's Blade Strike Force, and then there is the Lost Brotherhood Strike Force. They are, of differing qualities. Again, I will make separate videos for them. Suffice it to say, the Death Company Strike Force is awesome. The Angel's Blade Strike Force is a nice idea, but very poorly thought out and poorly organized, to say the least. Although, frankly, to be fair, it's not necessarily the organization of the Angel's Blade Strike Force. It's what you have to take as a core that kind of ruin it. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. So you're also going to get 4 new data slates. These are the Terminator Captain, the Death Company Chaplain, the new Assault Squad, and the new Devastator Squad. The latter of the 2 we already talked about. The Terminator Captain and Death Company Chaplain we will go over later on. Again, these 4 data slates are of differing quality. For Devastators, it's cool. We got, grav cannons now, and the Death Company Chaplain is awesome for Death Company. The Terminator Captain is not so great, and the Assault Squad, they kind of nerfed a little bit, although we can take Eviscerators now, but frankly, what's the point? So also, there's 3 new, Altar of War missions in here. That are pretty decent. You can certainly have some fun with these. I think I played 1 or 2 of these with a buddy of mine, and they were fun. Just nice little thematic and fluffy things that we can do. And I believe there's also 2, 4, 6, 8. I believe there's 9 formations in here. Again, of varying quality and and usefulness. We will touch on them, in their own videos, certainly. And also, for the Death Company, there are relics, warlord traits, and tactical objectives for them. Now, you have to take, I think it's your warlord or a character has to be taken in either a Lost Brotherhood Strike Force or a Death Company Strike Force in order to take something from any of those. But regardless, they are awesome. We will, I guess we can... I think we'll just sort of hold off on those. Again, this is just an overview. It's not an in-depth look at every little thing. So, is this book worth it in case, the rest of the internet hasn't given you an opinion to believe already? As someone who bought the special edition thing, copy number 508 out of the 750 if you're curious, was it worth, the special edition price? No, frankly. As I said before at the beginning of this video, Angel's Blade is... It helps more than it hurts, but boy oh boy, this supplement was not meant, was not all it was meant to be. It's not all that it should have been, and frankly, there are some decisions in here that make me want to scream, and if I didn't put so much time, money, effort, and love into them, throw my models against the wall, because some of Games Workshop's decisions here are almost incomprehensible. But we can talk a little bit about that later. So anyway, that's all I have to say for now on this Angel's Blade overview. There's some good stuff in here. There's some bad stuff in here. Do you still need it? Kinda. It's unfortunate that it seems Games Workshop has been intent on giving Blood Angels with one hand and punching us in the gut with the other. So anyway, that's all I have to say for right now on this Angel's Blade overview. I'm curious to see what you guys have to say down below in the comment section. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.